Okay, everyone, we have Coach Corey Petersen with us from the University of Minnesota. We've been building their page out over the last couple of months. It is looking stellar. I have to say their curriculum is outstanding in the way they've organized it. So I'm really interested to hear a little bit more from Corey here as well. But obviously, before we go any further, Corey, I'll just hand the mic over to you. Please go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit more. Maybe tell us about your developmental journey into the profession and the steps along the way up until the point where you are right now.
Okay. Yeah. I think I've been pretty fortunate to know at a young age that I want to be a strength coach. I know it might seem crazy, but I was in ninth grade. And I remember I was shoveling driveways and cutting grass in the summer for jobs. And I was saving up money to buy a weight set. And I remember that ninth grade Christmas, I asked my parents to go half on it. So I paid for half, they paid for the other half. And so we actually had a weight set down in the basement of my house. It was me, my mom, and my brother. And so I had a weight set growing up in ninth grade. And that was kind of just my passion, was lifting, training, obviously playing sports. And funny enough, my mom, if I ever got in trouble, because obviously kids get in trouble, she wouldn't take my phone or take playing time away. She would take my time using the gym away. And that we had a rec club like maybe half a block away or a block away. And I wouldn't get access to the rec center to go train. She knew the person that ran the front desk personally. And so she would call them and be like, he didn't come over. Or so that's usually what I got taken away if I got in trouble growing up. And so that was always kind of my passion from a young age. And then obviously you get in the college and, you like to do it, but you're still, man, do I really want to do this? Do I want to take the OChem classes, or do I want to take the stats or the physics or all those requirements? And I mean, for me at the end of the day, I did. And so I played football at Augustana. And I was fortunate to have two strength coaches at Augustana and Sioux Falls. And throughout pretty much my entire time at Augie, they mentored me. And so the head guy was Brett Chambers, and the assistant at the time was Chad Traver. He's now, I want to say, he's at Mississippi State with football. And then the other system I changed my junior year, Logan Ogden, he is now the director at Utah. And so, but both those, or all three of those coaches from my freshman year started mentoring about programming and periodizing and different rehab, everything under the sun, time management. Because at a D2 school, you had one weight room with 8 racks, and you had 20 sports that you had to get through, and each team, one team's in season, one team's out of season. You have injuries that you obviously have to work around. So being able to be in that environment, you really have to learn how to coach. And when you get to do that at age 19, 20, and you get to do that for several years, was an unbelievable opportunity. And then by my junior, senior year, now I'm starting to lead teams or really do the programming. Obviously they're still overseeing it, but started to give more trust to me and more opportunities. Obviously I was very blessed to get, because not many people get that opportunity while they're still an undergrad. So that path, and then throughout different summers in college around, maybe school or whatever it may be, doing different private setting internships at a Velocity Hockey or Performance Athletics, or doing stuff with the Minnesota Wild. Basically just trying to get as much experience as I possibly could to try and set me up to get in the field when I was done with undergrad or go to my master's program. So pretty fortunate to have some pretty good mentors throughout my college years and help me understand the time commitment it is going to take, and your willingness to learn or research or, pick different brains and different facets, whether it be athletic training or psychology or nutrition, since they're all there to help each other. Mm-hmm. And so, that was my journey in undergrad. And then I did my master's at Minnesota. And I started my master's at Minnesota. I was here for maybe 2 months before I got an opportunity to go out to Stanford. And so I went out to Stanford, and Minnesota allowed me to do my master's from afar. So I was doing my master's from afar Well, I was at Stanford. I was at Stanford for under a year, not due to the athletes or the facilities or any of that stuff. A lot of it was, uh, you know, I grew up in Minnesota, and so I kind of wanted to come back to Minnesota. It was cool to experience something different. Cost of living wasn't very nice in the Palo Alto area. So I mean, it's not for everyone. It's for some people. It's not for everyone. Just like Minnesota winters, it's not for everyone. But came back to Minnesota because I had an opportunity to be Cal Dietz's assistant. And so I wanted to learn from Cal. And so when that opportunity came open at Minnesota, I came back. And I've been at Minnesota ever since. So this is my 6th school year now at Minnesota.
Gotcha.
And so I'm kind of been here a while. It feels longer than 6 years in strength and conditioning years, but yeah, I've been here for a while, and it's been pretty crazy just to see the transformation of all the facilities in just even that short time period. But yeah, that's kind of my little journey, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, strength conditioning years do seem, seem longer, but at the same time, I feel like every semester, blink and the semester's gone.
It's gone, and then it's already like, oh, summer's going to be here by tomorrow, and then okay, we're already preparing for another year, and then it's crazy because, I mean, like most of us have multiple teams, and so like one team's in season, and then it usually just goes right into another team's in season. And it goes right into like, okay, now this team has another season. Or like if we have swimming, some of our swimmers, it depends on the year, obviously, but they might have Olympic trials, or they might have whatever it may be in the summer. So they're going. And then if you have a fall sport, they're training for that fall. So it's always, there's always something. Always something.
Yeah, keeps you on your toes. 2 other things I wanted to pick out of that. First thing is the mental warfare of your mother to remove your weights is freaking awesome. That's such an awesome story.
I remember I was down there and I locked the door, which wasn't very smart of me. But I was playing the music really loud, and I had some weight I can't remember what weight I had on the bench bar. I was 9th grade, so it wasn't heavy by any means. Heavy for myself, but not like some outstanding number.
Right.
And I remember I was down there. I'm like, okay, music's loud. I hit 1 rep. Most I've done. And I'm like, oh, I'm definitely gonna go for 2 here. And literally go down, just get stapled. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh my goodness. If I take this and go one way, I'm hitting the wall. If I go the other way, I'm hitting the wall, and my mom will kill me. Like she will be. It won't be good. And so I felt like I was just sitting there struggling. You got to do try to roll the baller down, and then it just sinks into your stomach. There's a lesson learned to make sure if I'm going to have heavy weight, probably make sure I have a spotter, or at least turn the music down to where I can scream for help. Not that my mom would have done anything anyways, because I don't think she would be able to spot me, but lesson learned. Hey, if you're going to try to do something that heavy, you should probably have a spotter, especially in your house.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's so funny. That's so good. Yeah. And the second thing is, like you mentioned, those D3 schools with 20 plus teams, 8 racks, 700,000 square foot facility or something like that. Man, those are such crucial learning experiences, I find. Prior to coming to Marquette here, working with club rugby teams at Michigan, 0 budget. We were scheduled to practice between midnight and 2 a.m. in the indoor field house.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. So dealing with those kinds of things and getting creative, like with what you can do with essentially nothing, or with a partner, that's those kinds of opportunities where you have to really be resourceful about all these things, just sets you up so well for the times when you do get an incredible weight room to be able to use. It's not that you're less appreciative of what you have. It's just that you kind of miss the forest for the trees sometimes with what do you actually need to accomplish versus, oh, I'm going to use this tsunami bar because I have it.
Right. Right. I think when COVID happened and we had that first lockdown, or even when, we get the athletes back to the campus and we can only have, so much time, or you can only have so much space, or you have to have athletes so spread out. I think obviously having a background where you're used to not having anything, it wasn't, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was still a challenge, but it's still like, oh, we've been through this.
Right.
As far as in my learning experience, as far as you have to be creative with the resources you have. You're not going to have all these tools for every single athlete. And so it was kind of cool to sit there and be like, oh yeah, this is basically like the same thing. You know, you got to roll through this many kids through. You got to be really quick, really efficient with how many kids can be in the weight room at one time due to all the policies. And so like that part was definitely handy. And it definitely made you realize, wow, I am pretty lucky to be at a school like this where, you know, you could get tendos, you get catapult through, you know, every rack gets this. And you get so kind of like used to it.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay.
Right.
You have to go back to like your normal coaching roots and be a good coach.
Yeah. Back to the basics. I think I saw, I just sparked a memory. I think I saw something on social media the other day. It was like, can't remember who posted it. Like write your program, then remove 20% of it, then remove 20% of it again.
Oh, I saw that same post. Yes.
That's your program. Yeah. And that's exactly
program.
what happened. You know, it's silver linings of just coming back to the basics. What's actually going to move the needle and then get rid of the fluff.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I think too, I mean, what do they say at conferences? It's like Power 5. Everyone's just so worried about the Power 5 logos. It's like logo chasing.
Right.
And it's like, and I mean, here I am working at a Power 5 school. I get it. But at the end of the day, I have so much respect for those coaches. And I have so much, like at the high school setting or the D3, the D2, or even the D1s that don't have that much because it takes so much. And honestly, they're all very, very good coaches. Just because they don't have, you know, Ohio State or Alabama or whatever, doesn't mean that they're not a good coach. They probably have more experience actually coaching on the floor than any other coach in Power 5 with how many teams they have and how many groups they have to roll through. So there's some unbelievable coaches. And so it's kind of like when interns come to us, and maybe I'm jumping the gun here with this, but I think when interns come to us, it's trying to give them all that experience and try to have them be creative and pretend like they don't have all these resources. Because most likely when interns leave, it's not just going to be, oh, you get a Power 5 job, here you go. Or you get to go to a school that all of a sudden has all these resources. Usually you might have to go to a school and build your way up if that's something you're shooting for or something that you want. But try to put them in a situation where they know how to handle those situations where, you know, if they go to a small school, oh, what do you mean we don't have tendos? What do you mean we don't have all these bands? What do you mean we don't have K boxes? What do you mean we don't have heart rate and GPS? How am I supposed to do my job? And so trying to put them in those situations where no, they have to see like you can do all that stuff without all that technology.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's important for anyone who's like watching this video, young coaches looking to get into profession. And we're not trying to say don't go to Minnesota.
Sorry, I'm not trying to say that. I think
no, of course. But I think what we're both saying is like the value of the experience is not in the logo or the prestige of a place. It's in the people there and maybe the experiences they've had in the past. Maybe they're now at a big school with resources, but they've had tons of experience in those more rudimentary settings that have set them up to be able to help be a good coach.
Honestly, I think if I look at most of our staff, I mean, we had someone come from a D3 school. We had coming from, he got his master's from Gardner-Webb. I can't remember where he played college football, but he also played football in D3. So we had another D3 football player. Another one went to Platteville, Wisconsin. I mean, we have all these kids with or not kids. Wow. All these, you know, other staffers that have all these small town schools or not these big glamorous Power 5 internships. I mean, don't get me wrong, some do. But a lot of it's more so what's the experience that you're getting. And if you're getting unbelievable experience at a smaller school and you've become a great coach, I mean, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Can you coach? Can you lead people? Can you mentor people? That's what it's all about at the end of the day. Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more. All right, so let's move on then a little bit here. You've already mentioned it slightly in terms of what you're looking to develop in young coaches and the skill sets you're looking to instill and build upon. Before getting to that, in terms of intern responsibilities at Minnesota, what does a typical week look like? And I know it may be a little bit different between the fall, the spring, winter, and the summer, but maybe you could touch on like what a typical week looks like and what the expectations are within a typical training day.
Yeah. I think it's going to be so case by case or individual by individual. For example, if we have kids in school, obviously we'll work around their school schedule. But typically most workouts start at 6 a.m, very typical college has to work around, practice times and school time. So usually the first training session starts at 6. And it's probably usually 6 Monday through Friday, different teams, but usually starts by 6. And then some nights it goes till, 5, 6 p.m., depending on if teams lift after practice. And that's usually pretty typical in the fall, winter, spring. Summer though, usually we're done by 1 or 2. Maybe there's some rare cases in the summer where we're here a little bit later, but I mean, all our athletes are, no, we want the morning, we want to come in, we want to get it done, we want to leave. So it's pretty rare that athletes are going to come in at like 3, 4, 5 in the afternoon. If it is, it's usually like a one-off each week. And usually if it's something small like that, we're not going to require interns to be there that late or make them sit there for multiple hours waiting for, 3 kids, right. If that's how big the group size is. So that's typically what a week is. Obviously, as you know, in season teams, it's so different. Are they traveling? Are they not traveling? So the schedule it's hard to find a consistent schedule. Oh, they're home this week. Okay, but they're gone this week. So you might have some gaps throughout the middle of the day. And usually within those gaps are opportunities for them to train, to work out themselves, ask us questions, or maybe find an opportunity for us to do some intern ed with them. Just trying to make sure like or if maybe they want to do different read or side projects or whatever it is, they have time to do that obviously throughout the day. If there is those side pockets, they don't need to sit in the weight room and look at the mirror, look at a bike or whatever, but yeah, it's typically what a typical day looks like, but usually a lot of teams are rolling through.
Yeah, that's good. I don't think the value of allowing intern coaches to lift in the facility can be overlooked. I think that's really important for a number of reasons. And probably the most important is just if athletes you're coaching see you practicing what you preach, then the trust and respect level goes through the roof.
100%.
Yeah, you have to do that. And as well, I think like lifting can, in a loose sense, be kind of like continuing education and professional development. Like there's undoubtedly you're going to try new things as you see other people talking about them or present at conferences, and that only helps. And that's where,
I think. Sorry if I cut you off. Yeah, no, I think too that's where we all learn. I remember. I mean, there's a lot of different times where, I remember. So one of our alumni down there, Jordan Newsomwa, who's at Elon now. I remember he put together like this workout program for us to try, and it was death. Yeah. It was literally terrible. We still we joked about it, and I was like, do you see how important it is to try the workout? Like, do you see this? Like, because this last block that you had here was terrible. Like, this is not like the athletes will not get through this. But a lot of times you don't know that until you do it. Or the same thing, like sometimes these interns might write a program and you're like, do you understand that lift right there is probably going to take 2 hours between all the different setups and how many sets you have and all the whatever stuff you have in between, where that's a 2-hour lift, just one person doing it. Just imagine if you have a team in there. So learning all the timing, or learning how things pair up or match up, and just figuring out the flow of the weight room. It's so important to figure out what's going to work and what's not going to work. Especially if you have, if we have a wrestling team in there and you got 40 plus athletes, things need to go smooth. You don't have 2 hours to lift.
Right.
So it's so important to try and have them try our different programs. Especially doing programs that they're, if you're a football player, okay, yeah, you might have to do a soccer program, or you might have to do a rowing program, or doing these different things that's so different than something that you've had to do, to also allow yourself to feel something different.
Right. Yeah. 100%. So outside of those kind of more organic learning experiences, which are crucial as well in terms of your like directed curriculum that you'll deliver on a weekly basis. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Maybe pick out one or two of the key details of it, maybe how you structure and run it, or potentially like specific topics that you think you guys kind of do really well at Minnesota.
Yeah. I think it's always interesting because you don't really, let's say you bring in 4 interns, and those 4 interns might have all very different experiences. You might have a freshman in college that this is their first internship. And so they might be very green. And so how you tailor your internship curriculum to them might be a little bit different. Because you might want to look at like the long haul. Okay, if this kid's a freshman at Minnesota, okay, can we get 4 years to try and develop them? Whereas we've had interns come in where they just finished their GA. Okay, so like they have very different experience, and they've actually done hands-on learning experience. So their curriculum might be a little bit different or more individualized to them as far as what their goals might be. But for the most part, we're going to try to do different intern education each week, whether that be them doing research and creating different PowerPoint presentations off that information and presenting it to us, whether it be us bringing in different people that have been through our program, or just our connections that might do Zoom calls, or we have a lot of recorded calls that we play back for the interns. And then obviously, if they have follow-up questions, we'll provide that contact information for that coach, or ourselves giving different opportunities or presentations. Is kind of different ways that we'll do intern ed. But the biggest piece, though, is trying to teach them how to do a needs analysis, or understand the sport, or how to create all these different programs or phases, and how you have to know the sport. And so we try and pair it up to where they don't have any experience in that sport. And so, if we get a football player, we're not going to give them football because they usually know football. And so we're going to give them something we might give them women's tennis. Yeah. And so they have to go outside their wheelhouse and learn something that's different for them. Because as you know, it's not just, I'm a soccer guy. Okay, well, best of luck to you to find a school that you only work soccer. Best of luck. Or maybe it's, I'm only a tennis coach. And so it also gives you various backgrounds. Like if you're, let's say you do work soccer, but you also work swimming at the same time. Well, swimming, you're dealing with hips and shoulders. So let's say all of a sudden, like, you get experience working with shoulders. And let's say a soccer player all of a sudden injures her shoulder. You now know modifications to work around it because you're already working with swimming. And so like the sports, they still intercross, but trying to give them an opportunity to learn how to program in season, out of season. What about an incomer that has no experience? Different screen stuff you might do when athletes come in. And just try and take them through that entire process. So they're kind of like creating a portfolio almost. And then by the end of it, by the end of the internship, hopefully they have a nice little portfolio with all their programming needs analysis, something that they would hand on a job interview. Yeah. So teaching them how to learn those skills and the details of that. So if they leave our program, they like, hey, here's the information, here's the stuff. I'm going to be professional about it. Because those skills, they don't go unnoticed. Yeah. As you know, you're a details guy. So I think just trying to teach skills that sometimes people don't think about. It's kind of the big thing, I guess. But I think, sorry, I feel like I'm rambling. But I think it's just trying to get them, have our director of nutrition come in and talk about pre-practice fueling or basic nutrition guidelines, have our different athletic trainers come in and talk about different rehabs or modifications for different injuries, whether it be ankle, hip, knee, shoulder, back, whatever it may be. Try and get them experience with different sports scientists. If they want to learn more about data, if that's maybe like their niche. So trying to broaden it to where it's like you try and teach everything, or at least touch it to where it's not just, all right, you're here, you only are in the weight room, you sit there and coach all day. which you're going to get a lot of coaching, but at the same time, you're also here to learn.
Right. Yeah. No, that's excellent. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Is like you're trying to allow them to be a generalist, because I think we all have to be generalists to some degree, especially when you're working with multiple teams. But also give them the exposure to, just like you say, maybe a little bit of data science here and there, or a little bit of rehabilitation and modification work, so that if they find that is their niche, whether it's when they're with you or in the future, then they can create that specialty for themselves. So I think that's perfect. That's really, really good. And you mentioned a couple of people already, actually, in terms of your alumni network. Obviously, I feel like every young coach, or we just had an assistant position open up here, which we're going through the hiring process. I feel like the amount of times I've seen University of Minnesota as an internship experience on there is like blows everyone else out the water. So I feel like your alumni network is huge, which is great for anyone watching this video, because that's such an important piece of moving forward in the field, whether you like it or not. If you have a big alumni network in your corner that you can lean on, it's massive. So I wonder if you could talk about a couple of those guys and girls who have moved on, and what they were like when they were with you, and kind of why you think how they carried themselves when they were with you set them up for moving on to success, really.
Yeah, for sure. I think, like you touched it, I think some of my best friends are all interns or people that we've had that you get to stay in touch with throughout the process. And, we have 5 on our page, and they're all kind of different. Their mom might be a director. I think one's a director, like a D2 school. One did a phenomenal job for us, so he got hired on full-time here. I think, sorry, real quick, but I think one thing we try and tell interns is, like, every day is a job interview.
Yeah.
And the job that they do it matters, because the amount of time that we get calls from different schools, because once you put Minnesota on that reference list, schools are going to call us if you applied for something. And if we can't speak highly of you, we're going to be honest as far as like your characteristics or your work ethic, or ability to ask questions or whatever it may be. But every day is a job interview as far as, are you willing to learn? Are you willing to go above and beyond? What you put into is ultimately what you get out of it. Are you present when you're here? Are you trustworthy to where we're now giving you responsibility to lead warmups, or, lead lifting sessions, or whatever it may be? But every day is a job interview, and every single one of our interns, or at least on that alumni page and the many more, they've all had those characteristics, where now you see, hired within, or we got Jordan at Elon, or we got some other people, directors or head strength coaches at smaller schools. It's just pretty awesome to see, like, where all these people are. And like, even some other people so we kind of we have a sports science internship with Cal.
Right.
And that's just a lot more technology driven, et cetera. But like, even just thinking about the people that have come out of there too, that we get to interact with or learn from. You got sports scientists at Pitt, you got people in the pros, you got all these different people that you get to build your network around. But they all kind of have those same characteristics. Like they want to learn. It's their passion. They love it. They want to ask questions. They want to get responsibilities such as coaching. They want to go above and beyond. Because I always think it's like a two-way street. Like, we're here to teach you, but you're also coming from different backgrounds, where I want you to teach me, where you've seen stuff from different areas. And I want you to be like, hey, have you ever tried this? Or have you thought of this? Or what if you change this? Like, I want you to be okay confronting me, saying, hey, have you thought about doing this? Hey, what about whatever it may be? Because you might have a different background that I did not have, or you might have seen something or learned something that I haven't learned or seen. And so I always want it to be a two-way street, as far as that goes, where I want you to feel comfortable to talk to all the coaches, ask us all questions, but also teach us something, because you're most likely going to have a different background.
Yeah.
If we got an intern from Marquette, you guys are going to do stuff different than what we do. And so, he might take something he learned a lot from yourself or Marquette staff. And if he comes to Minnesota, cool. Yeah. Teach us. Like, we want to learn too.
Right. Right. Exactly. I feel like as a young coach, and sometimes it's hard to have that perspective because especially if you allow yourself to be like fall foul of like imposter syndrome. You're like, I don't really know, like, what I'm doing here and stuff like that. And you just fill the role of intern coach. I always say to our young coaches, like, the sooner you take on the role of an assistant coach here and you act like it, the sooner that's going to happen for you. So like add value where you're at and make yourself invaluable so that when you move on, like you leave a massive hole. And I want to keep you, because
it's always,
you're always going to have, just like you said before, you're always going to, the value of the internship, and I'm stealing this from Coach McKeefer. He said this when we were on the call. The value of the internship is not in the 4 months that you're with me. The value of the internship is in the rest of my career, that I'm in your corner to be able to like help you along the way and help you get a job or help you make a connection with somebody. Like that's where the value lies. Yeah.
I think too, it says a lot too, like, if also the intern's not there that day, do the athletes know the intern's name? Like if they're like, hey, where's Joe at? Like, do they know the athlete's name? Or if you're not there that day, do they notice that you're not there that day? Because if they don't notice that you're not there that day, or maybe it's 2 days, usually I was like, well, you're not making an impact then.
Yeah.
Usually where it's like, I want you to know the athletes. I want them to start to gain trust in you. Like you said, start being an assistant coach.
Yeah.
Be on the floor, start getting to know the athletes, and they'll start to listen to you and your coaching cues. And then our coaches will trust you more to do more stuff with the athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to shout out one of our intern coaches because he deserves it. A guy called Tim Warren is going to do really good things in the field. I think he is not a student here. Most of the time at Marquette, we have a lot of undergrad students roll through our internship program, but he's from UW Milwaukee across town. He is in here as often as he possibly can. He's got classes. He'll come here afterwards. Then he goes out and coaches high school. Then he comes back afterwards. And just like you said, when he's not here, all of the athletes are asking where he is because he just has like the ability to like, he connects with people all the time, adds value. Yeah, he's freaking awesome. He's doing a really good job.
But I mean, how many times though have coaches reached out to you if someone put you on a reference list and they want to know that because that information cares, like it matters. Like they want to know all that stuff. Like if I were to call you about him, hey, talk to me about it. I want to know that type of stuff.
Yeah. Is
100%.
he trustworthy?
Is he
respected? Is he liked?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So then wrapping it up here in terms of young coaches who are looking to come to you and develop at Minnesota specifically, what are you like looking for? And this is a tough question, right? Because we're not necessarily going to say I need this one specific individual and everyone else I don't care about, but in general, like what are you looking for with young coaches to come to Minnesota? You've talked about kind of that passion piece already, but maybe expanding on those things a little bit as well.
Oh man, I tell you what, I think just eager to learn, and I think just the want to coach. And I think it's fun too, where you can sit there and try to spend all this time trying to get, an intern to get the coaching voice or confidence. And it might take a while, but even at the end of the 4 months or whatever it is, it's like, that was so worth it. So worth it that you helped him. Or maybe, like I said before, we might have a GA where you might need to fine tune some things or give them different responsibilities. So we don't really, you need to have this much experience, because we've had some very green interns, like very green interns. But that's like half of it too, because they might get in here and be like, they might realize, oh wow, this maybe isn't for me, and that's totally okay.
Right.
But sometimes like, oh wow, I love this. And I think just being open-minded and eager to learn are just some key values. And obviously, working hard, dedicated. I mean, we're certainly not going to expect, hey, you got to be here from 6 to 9 p.m. It's like, no, you're here when teams are. You're more than welcome to be here longer if you want to. The weight room's yours, so you can train. You signed your waiver, so if anything happens, that's on you. But just want to create just a fun environment for them to be in, because as this is a volunteer internship.
Right.
You're not getting paid to be here, so we want to make sure that you're getting the most out of it. You're helping us greatly, but we want to make sure that you're getting as much out of it as you possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. No, that's refreshing to hear for sure. And yeah, you can't teach motivation and conviction and drive. You can teach all the other stuff. You can teach the technical, tactical stuff all day long. So it's nice to hear. And I think you're right. Some of the best interns you ever have are the super green ones that are just like, freaking teach me. And they just want to know everything.
Ready to do whatever they want. Ready to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what coach said this, but someone's like, we don't want traffic cones.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're like, hey, you're not coming here at 6 a.m. to sit there and just watch. Like, if you're going to be here or at noon or whenever you're here, like, no, we want you to coach.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're here to coach, or we want you to help out or interact. You didn't come here to just sit off to the side and just watch these athletes train. No, we want you to coach. You came here to coach, and obviously, trying to gain that confidence. But yeah, we don't want a traffic cone that, just kind of sits there and just oversees. Yeah.
No, that's perfect. Well, hey, this is awesome. I really appreciate you coming on. And obviously anyone who's watching this video, this video is going to be on the page. So anyone who's watching this video can see the details of the internship below, especially the kind of key information, and then also the curriculum. And at the bottom of the page is all the information about how to actually apply to the developmental role, in terms of what you need, but then also the email address to reach Corey here, and send him that. So yeah, like I say, I really appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll be able to bring you a few more intern coaches your way. I'm sure you have a massive list of applicants already, so we're going to try and make your job a little bit harder to pick the best one.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Like I said before, I'll say it on here, but I think what you guys are doing is outstanding. As far as the pages and the website that you guys are putting together, definitely something that I wish I had access to, because you got to make sure that the internship fits you and what you're looking for. Because at the end of the day, that's what matters most. So definitely take advantage of the site, look at different resources, different internship possibilities, and see what fits you best.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wise words. No, I really appreciate that. Really appreciate it. All right. Good stuff, Coach. Well, I'll be in touch soon. And obviously anyone who's interested in applying, please go ahead and reach out to Corey, and best of luck on your journey through the profession.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right. Good stuff.